I guess in regards to the biblical calendar forum, there's as usual argumentation and here and there and all that. Not sure if he thinks. Oh well. Anyway, a little hard but as I remember, in regards to the pilgrims, there's a lot of articles in regards to the pilgrims keeping the new year. I think it was the 25th of March. Now we also have in regards to the 1st of the March, but as far as I remember, the pilgrims kept the 25th of March. Now I can't remember in regards to more resources but that would that would be very close to the next month in regards of the new moon and all that, and where it seems to actually also be in regards to the new year, but that would also be very close to what they had calculated. I don't know where they get this 25 of December March from. The pilgrims, if this was something that everybody kept at that point, because as I understand it, Rome was changing things as usual and all that, so it might actually already have been going back in time, but it would be interesting to figure out. But in regards to the 1st of March, where I think that's the day where everybody lies, right? Or is allowed to lie or something like that, wasn't that? I remember that was also a date in regards to the new year and all that. So, I don't have all the pieces there, but anyway. So that's it's also interesting in regards of these mobile screens and all that having bigger and bigger resolutions, right? Well, it doesn't really matter in regards to bigger and bigger resolutions when the companies like Facebook and Google are ruining the pictures anyway. It's just stupid, But of course, they want you to use Chrome. They want to use their browser, not Firefox, Because if you use, Chrome, you don't have a problem. If you use Firefox, which is, as far as I remember, open source, oh, you're not allowed to, oh, no. Oh, it's a wicked world we live in, and it just continues with the nutcase things and all that. Anyway, let's see. Let's get back to it. In regards to Alamo. So we have homosexuality, lesbianism, Obama, Mohammedans, a one world government, the Guantanamo prisoners, I can't say it, terrorist trials in New York, churches being raided, the people in Israel being attacked and threatened, the prominence of Wellspring, which really is the reopening of the Cult Awareness Network, the FBI, sending former Christians to Wellspring to a deprogrammed and to learn how to lie about pastors, discussions on communism, socialism, and the Tea Parties. Every day something new, while the freedom of religion and the freedom of speech are their main targets and are all but gone. Also in regards of, a Roman Catholic thing in regards of if you give me the child, in regards of his childhood, I will have his grown-ups, whatever, anyway, or something in regards, if you can program the child from the beginning, you will have them, when they grow up as well, and so they get to them very early on, and that's the thing. I know it for myself that when you grow up with something you think is true of truth, and then you find out it's not true, then it's very sad. It's very sad that you find out that people are lying to you on every single level. Why is it not a hate crime to lie about, slander, and malign born-again Christians? It is because we are the target, because we expose the Vatican's one world government's evil. The radio talk show hosts have fallen right into the hands of Rome because they are not exposing where the root of all these problems are coming from. They are doing exactly what the Vatican wants them to do, and that is to blame Bush and Obama for all that is going on. This was what they were elected for, to take the heat away from the Vatican. Obama is another Vatican puppet. And in regards to the guy that is sitting in there now, what is he called? As far as I can see, he's, again, just a Vatican puppet. They're playing their political game and all that as usual, and It's interesting, it's like in regards to Christianity, but what kind of Christianity are we actually talking about? And then they're promoting Christ Mass. Oh, but Christ Mass doesn't have anything to do with the Bible. But now it's like, oh, we have to have allowed, we have to be allowed in this nation to keep, Christ Mass. And it's the same thing in regards to Denmark and all. Well, Christ Mass has nothing to do with the Bible. Anyway, let's try that. Immigration issues to bring illegal Catholics, invaders into vote for Catholics and Mohammedans, which are a division of Catholicism. Very interesting quote, I think. A very, very interesting quote that he fixes here. So maybe we should copy it and put it on my Facebook, and put the link in there and all that. That might be, and quote them for that. Interesting. But you look at that image, Facebook is, and that's, I'm tired of Facebook. I'm really, really tired of Facebook. They're ruining everything on this platform. And I don't have that many friends anyway on Facebook. So I don't have much going on anyway, so it wouldn't actually be much of a problem actually just going totally off it, or stop using it. Why is it? Come on! We have some problems, some typical problems, where it's... Give me a break, Give me a break. Get kind of tired of things, when it's not working as it should. And the images being broken because of Facebook, and it's. Oh, I should have just fixed the. So I'm just at the point of, one thing is to not have something working and all that. Another thing is actually to do it on purpose, where they do it on purpose to make issues for the user. Then it goes out of line. That is absolutely out of line in regards of... okay, what is wrong with this? I don't know. It just doesn't want to come up with anything. Okay, I'm getting tired of this. I'm really, it's just I'm fed up with it. I'm just fed up with Facebook. I've just downloaded in 2 files. That's like, well, I did it yesterday. I think I downloaded like 70 80 gigabytes or something like that of information from my Facebook. Let's see if we can. It won't do anything. Oh, it's disgusting. I don't know why it wouldn't be a worker. Let's try again and copy and see if it wants to. But I don't know. It's just copy. Again, one thing is that something doesn't work. But when people willingly in these places are... Oh, there we go. Incredible, but you just get tired of all these things where you can see what they're actually doing inside the... I should make a last message on Facebook and say where people can reach me, and then I should just stop using it and let it sit there. I don't need to close it down, there's no problem in having it up there. Yeah. I should stop using Facebook and just go to my website and use the time on that instead. That's more than enough to go into, and then I have the full control of it, of course. Where was the page here? And let's just fix the link here. Copy. There we go. And let's see if it wants to come up this time. Hello? Hello, are you going to come up or what? No, apparently not. Waiting, come on. Come on, oh, there we go. Come on, come on. There we go. And I can fix that on the computer, the rest of it. This is Terra smoke screen. Yeah, that's just source, whatever. Let's get back to it. Oh, actually, did the images just become... Hey, there seems to be pretty details. Yeah, it actually looks good now. Well, or is it me? It looks like it looks pretty good up here. The details are... Now, of course, it does seem to actually have messed it up, but no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't look good. No. Nope. But this does seem to actually have become... That actually looks pretty good, Or maybe it's me. Maybe I just need to go on one of the others and actually see the difference, and then I will be surprised, maybe. It's bullshit. I think it's utterly bullshit. Well, I think it is bullshit, that using one browser, and then, look at that. Look at the difference, Huge amount of difference. Oh, don't learn biblical Hebrew online. Yeah, the problem is they want money, It would have been nice, interesting to, but, they want money. Actually, talk to them in regards of, in modern Assyrian would actually be interesting to, So, okay, point. So I know what it is. I don't know what else to write, point, so I can find it for later. I want to ask him a question. In regards to the Aramaic prayer, I guess I looked into it before, but anyway, Young Earth Christian Creationist Collation. Oh, Young Earth. Well, it's not, I don't know, 6,000 years is... I know, if everybody here, of course, are young compared to look at that. The details is just much better. Yeah, it's so much better on this. And then, of course, you think, oh, it must be the browser, right? Well, it's, no, it's Facebook, Oh, if you have Firefox, oh, no, they won't give you the goodies, At least I have problems with it anyway. I don't know, maybe in regards of add-ons, but I don't think it will change anything. An open source ad blocker for Facebook. What is active? I don't know how much is active of these. Finally, an efficient blogger, easy on CPU. I guess I have some of them active. Not sure which one. Okay, that's turned off, I think. Yeah. Okay, so that's turned on. And so I could try to disable the things and see what happens. Maybe that's the, I don't think so, but I don't think that's the problem. But tab section manager to Firefox, no idea what it is. And anyway, so we have turned everything off now. And so, I guess I would probably need to restart it, but I don't think it will change anything in regards to the quality. So, anyway, we should go get back to the things. We could just try to close it down quickly and open up and see what it does. Probably still have the bad quality of the images. Yep, nothing changed in that case. Still bad quality. Facebook bullshit, and again, I'm tired of it. So, and I don't know. I could close down my account, but I could just put the last message up, where people can reach me, and then just close it down from there. Stop posting. And focus on other things. Some of the more recent smokescreens include insolvencies of banks, record real estate foreclosures, high unemployment, government oppression, government loans to automobile. That was in regards of the Mohammedan and all that. Okay, so why is it not a hate crime to lie about, slander and malign born again Christians? It's because we are the target, because we expose the Vatican's the Vatican's one world government's evil, the radio talk show hosts have fallen right into the hands of Rome because they are not exposing where the root of all these problems are coming from. And they are doing exactly what the Vatican wants them to do, and that is to blame Bush and Obama for all that is going on. This was what they were elected for, to take the heat away from the Vatican. Obama is another Vatican puppet. And so is the new guy, I think, all the, what's it called? And it's like people are so much, really liking that guy and all that. He's part of the game as any other, promoting Christ Mass, you got to be kidding me, Christ Mass is not biblical. The Vatican, and wasn't it actually, or was that Obama in regards to the homosexual bullshit and all that? And of course, there's a quote in regards of Obama. He says he's a Christian, so you're a Christian, but you're supporting homosexuality. Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. You have to look at the overall picture of these people. They're playing the game, and they're good at it. The Vatican wants you to believe that you are smart, and they are stupid. They want you confused, and you are. The whole world is deceived by the devil, Revelation 12:9. All the devil and his one world government really wants is our freedom. The freedom of religion, the freedom of speech, our U.S. Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the Declaration of Independence. And I guess it is at that point, where they... But, it seems to me that they also had something to do with past things, because it was actually based on the Bible. And then you go from the Bible in regards of Christianity and all that, to freedom of religion. And what do you do when you have freedom of religion? You open up for paganism and Roman Catholicism and, the rest of the bullshit and, Satanist and so forward. Was that the way that the Protestants believe? No, it wasn't. There's one way to salvation, and that's through Jesus Christ. And, so anyway, 99%, as I understand it, of those 13 colonies was Protestants. Now, how much is the number nowadays? That's, of course, a good question. And why were the Roman Catholics coming to the U.S., No wonder the Protestants looked, didn't want them in their nation, because, they probably a lot of them knew what would going to happen in the future if they allowed this to go on, and they then, just allowed it, of course. There was allowed to all these Roman papists coming into the nation, and freedom of religion in regards of the Mass and in regards of practicing Romanism and all of that, which the Protestants knew the danger, and people forgot the danger of it, and now no people know much about anything anymore. It's just anyway. All the devil and his one world government really wants is our freedom, the freedom of religion, and the freedom of speech. And we have to have freedom of speech. If we lose the freedom of speech, that's nothing in regards of... If we can't stand for the truth, what do we have left? Our U.S. Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the Declaration of Independence. The popes say to hell with the U.S. Constitution. So-called, Fager Liming America Magazine, July 23, 1963, Syllables of Errors, Pope Pius the Ninth, Encyclical Counter Cura 50 Years in the Church of Rome, Charles Chinnicky, America of Rome, Christ or the Pope, John L. Brandt, Christian Board of Publication, Foreign Conspiracy Against the Liberties of the United States, Samuel F. Morse, that was, I think, in regards to Morse codes, The Engineer Corps of Hell. I think he intercepted some messages in regards to the Jesuits, Morse, and thereby he knew what they were about. And he wrote a book, as far as I understand it. I haven't read it, but anyway... So that was an interesting thing. You have 50 years in the Church of Rome. I haven't I haven't read it, but it's a very popular book. I also know that Alberto Rivera, that was a guy that also contacted Alberto Rivera. That Alberto Rivera said had been killed by and he said one of his books he actually had the documentation for these things in the back of the book, but he talked about it actually having been banned. So I'm not sure the version that you can actually get in our days actually have those documents from that Alberto Rivera put into the book. But of course, if just one person have that book in regards of that version, you could just fix it and fix it on the internet, right? There are actually people out there, doing that. And if just one book survives, you can get it out there on the internet for people to see. Anyway, so 50 years in the Church of Rome, Charles Kinnicky. But that was one of the cartoons from Alberto Rivera actually is about that guy, and he became a priest, if I remember correctly, and it shows what difficulties he's engaging and all that, and how he contacts Alberto Rivera by reading one of his cartoons, and he knew himself some of the things that was going on in the U.S., and he wrote a book. So he got to write a book because before he was eligible, according to Alberto Rivera, he was killed. But he wrote one book before he was killed. So of course that would maybe be an interesting read as well. It doesn't seem like any people really have. So anyway, and a lot of people out there have trying to discredit Alberto Rivera. But it's just incredible how many people, even former, like for example Richard Bennett, which also have had a ministry. He dead now, and he and of course the ministry was again promoting this heaven and hell doctrine. I don't know what Alberto Rivera actually thought about that. I would have been interesting to ask Alberto Rivera what he believed in regards to the heaven hell doctrine. But Richard Bennett talked to the ministry and got some documents and all that, and and apparently he believed that he was never so he was apparently one of those that was against Alberto Rivera, and I don't know, it's just interesting, so, and we have another source that also went against him, and I did some digging in it, and that was, I could have done more digging into it, but, it's, you can waste your time on a lot of things, just instead of just going back to the Bible, of course. But you could really see how they, how slippery, slick they were, and this and that. And that was some of the quotes that was absolutely disgusting. Where you just see there seems to be an agenda behind discrediting Alberto Rivera, and so and that was sad. I don't know if anyway. I ended up stop. You could use so much time on it, and I just ended up stopping more further research, but. It is an interesting topic, absolutely, and there is a lot to and there apparently also are some books that further. There were some books that was talked about in regards of, and also where Richard Bennett had apparently helped one of the guys write this book that was discrediting Alberto Rivera. And so that was very curious, very, very curious that he would, do that and actually attack Alberto Rivera. And it seemed to have been attacked on many levels, so you have to wonder, yeah, anyway. If we let them have the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the Declaration of Independence, they will decapitate Christians and burn them at the stake again. If we don't, you don't recant. If we don't, you don't recant. Okay. Burn them at the stake again. If we don't, you don't recant. And if you do, you will spend eternity in hell and the lake of fire. Repent. Again, this is the second death. You're not going to be in the lake of fire and burning for, you will perish. You will be no more. So again, as far as I can, from the research that I've done, this is a thing that is, as far as, it seems to go back to paganism, in regards of either going to hell or going to heaven. I think I had these documents in regards of attacking Alberto Rivera that I got from Richard Bennett. And of course, I saw what of the Catholics trying to discount him as well. And, a lot of it are just, it's just empty air. And you see how they try to do whatever is in their power to discount it. So I must say it's... yeah, I had I had two documents in regards of that was interesting, where one guy that said he had worked with Alberto Rivera, and then afterwards he came out and said he was a fake and this and that and all that. Yeah, well, there's many ways that they try to discredit people and all that. And I would think that, they can come as friendly people and all that and then just turn 180 degrees, the people, you cannot just, these people are crafty deceivers. And I wouldn't, the guy that said that Alberto was a fake and all that and had, worked with him and all that, I'm thinking more that he might actually have been an infiltrator and sought, Alberto Rivera, and so he could say that, oh yeah, I've worked with him and all that, but he was a fake, that's absolutely a possibility to discredit him in that way. I do think Alberto Rivera, there's a interview with a Lutheran and all that, and it doesn't really. I think Alberto Rivera could have done better on that. But I do understand how he could get into that in regards to just being tired of that people don't believe in what he says and all that. And he's talking to a Lutheran preacher that should have known better in regards to who the Antichrist is and all that. But he didn't want to talk in Latin and all that. But I've seen other programs with Alberto Rivera where he talks to a guy that just, wants to listen and all that. And that seems to be, Alberto Rivera had this thing where he's a little, we have our own special treats and all that. And but anyway, so he talks to this guy on a show, and he corrects him in regards to the Latin, and so he's correcting, Alberto Rivera is correcting him in regards of the Latin that he's saying and all that. So when people are saying that he didn't know Latin, well, at least he knew something. And the thing that Alberto Rivera had this idea that he didn't want to use Latin because it was the language of the devil, he thought. I don't think it would have been any problem. By the way, one of the places he also talks about translating a book from Latin into English as well. So that would be further proof that he would be able to do Latin if he's translating a book from Latin into... I don't know. I can't remember the book's name or what it was and all that, or if it ever. But he talked about that anyway. The thing is, it's kind of hard to get all the information. You would need to dig into a lot of things for sure, and it will take a lot of time to get all this, all the things. I don't know why the air of the balloon pretty much in some sense went out of that topic. It seems to have, he had he had a catalog in regards of in regards to what he had in his ministry, that was called CIR or something like that. What was it called? No, ARR, Antichrist Information Center. That was Alberto Rivera's. It would be interesting to see his list of what he was selling of things, of books and things. What he had at his disposal to give to people. Anyway, the World Trade Center. Maybe actually this minute, maybe. Again, there's possibilities of looking into things and all that, but the problem is, again, it takes time to do, and a lot of people have died, so it's not really. So understand it. Alberto Rivera's son is still alive somewhere. Yeah, it would be interesting to talk to him about some of the things, and about his earthly father, flesh, in regards of. That would have been interesting. But yeah, anyway, again, that's enough to research for sure. Thinking. Yeah, but yeah. So that's so the World Trade Center. Why? Let's see here. I might be able to, but again, maybe that's why they're attacking this ministry, and they put him in jail and all that and persecute. Maybe it's because they knew a lot of that they took Alberto Rivera seriously as well, and that they connected a lot of the dots, and they might have some, I don't know, but apparently it seems like the ministry has been under pretty good persecution. Anyway, the World Trade Center. Why? Okay. Why were the government officials involved with blowing up the World Trade Center? An article in the San Francisco Examiner, June 11, 2002, Section A, page 9, colon or something, I don't know, 1 to 5, quoted an attorney named Stanley Hilton, who is suing President Bush, Vice President Dick Cheney, National Security Advisor Condoleezza Rice, Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld, and Transportation Secretary Norman Mineta for $7 billion. He represents the families of 14 victims. 400 plaintiffs are involved nationwide. This article, as well as an interview called The Jones Report, stated that President Bush was involved. Didn't I have something that was interesting that I tried to... Oh, that was in regards of this one. Did I copy paste that? Maybe I should just copy paste that and put it in my Facebook, by the way. Of course, I need to fix my notes as well, because I broke my notes and I haven't fixed the notes yet. So there's some problems in regards of that. Anyway. Oh, that was wrong. There's always something to do, Yep. I messed it up in regards to the notes, and it's so let's see here. Where could it be? There we go. So yeah, of course it makes me wonder in regards of the information in regards of what happened to my post. So of course that is interesting, you in regards to some of the books, and again how the reaction is in regards of, the reaction that seemingly, goes on if you, I don't know where it went, but apparently it didn't seem to upload the thing here. Let's just paste it again and try again and hope for the best. Okay, the Popes say to hell with the U.S. Constitution. Father Lehman, America Magazine, July 23 to 1963. Syllables of error, Pope Pius, encyclical 50. Anyway, different sources. Anyway, so there's a lot of things, a lot of information that could be very interesting to dig into, and yeah, it's anyway. Let's see. This article. So 400 plaintiffs are involved nationwide. This article, as well as an interview called the Jones Report, stated that the President Bush was involved in the conspiracy to create the September 11 attack. They state that Bush helped arrange things so that all the security personnel in the United States would look the other way and allow the destruction of the World Trade Center to take place. Mr. Hilton also stated that he has evidence that bin Laden died several years ago of kidney failure. He went on to say that Bush used dead bin Laden's antagonistic image to create a public frenzy, allowing his administration to tighten its political grip. If this is true, Rome, its world government, and its news media, the propagandists, are leading you down another blind alley as they do every day and night. And Bush family are Vatican puppets, as is Obama. They did and are doing whatever the Vatican wants them to do. President Reagan admitted to me that he was a slave to do what the Vatican told him to do. Alex Jones of the Jones Report also interviewed Stanley Hilton, see website, presentplanet.com, Jones Report, 0, so forward. Stanley Hilton, an expert on government-sponsored, but again, Alex Jones, it's just, be careful of that guy. Again, I guess you have to be on your toes on everything in regards of things here and there. It's not easy, it's not easy to keep it. It's not, you have, in regards of, for example, Richard Bennett, when I began to talk about people were clearly believing that, that Richard Bennett would go to heaven and all that. And I wrote to different people that was not biblical and all that. And I ended up getting banned from Richard Bennett's page. And I had him as a Facebook, so-called friend, whatever, for a long time. But when I began to write in regards of heaven and hell not being true, I was banned. I was closed out from, although I did get some documents before they kicked me out. I guess got some information in regards of Richard Bennett, that he was, he didn't think that Alberto Rivera was a priest ever, and I got some other documents that was sent to me that I read, and you can, some of it was just totally, snake oil twisting things in regards of Alberto Rivera, and saying yes, it's true that the Vatican and this and that and all that, but so that Alberto Rivera was telling the truth about that, but then turning, it's again twisting things, and trying to. So that was interesting. Anyway, Stanley Hilton, an expert on government-sponsored terrorism, stated we filed the lawsuit last May against Bush. Oh, we already read that. I think. Maybe not. Anyway, Stanley Hilton, an expert on government-sponsored terrorism, stated, we filed the lawsuit last May against Bush, Cheney, Rumsfeld, and a few of the other terrorists who run the United States government for complicity in causing as well as in aiding and abetting the 9/11 attacks in order to promote their political agenda. We are facing very strong resistance from the government, the Vatican One World government. They're claiming national security takes precedence over everything. They claim they don't want to release any documents, but I represent people who were victimized by what the government did. Hilton also stated that he had memos from Bush advisors, Wolfowitz, Wumfer, Fate, Perler, and the rest, written several months before 9/11, in which they fervently wished for a Pearl Harbor-type incident, another Pearl Harbor, to give them the shock value that would enable them to carry out their agenda. I have a witness who was married to one of the hijackers. She knew 7 of them because she met them. Essentially, these Arab hijackers were double agents. That is, they were operating inside the United States for 10 to 15 years in cells. Some of them used the term Al-Qaeda, pronounced Al-Qaeda. I don't know, Qaeda. They used other terms as well. Al-Qaeda is a term that means nothing. You could call them Mohammedan Brotherhood or something else. What they are is a series of cells that have been aided and abetted by the United States government. This woman was married to one of the terrorists at the time of the 1993 World Trade Center bombing and the Oklahoma City bombing. Her ex-husband actually traveled to Oklahoma City several weeks before the bombings. They were apparently involved in that. What we have here are double agents in that they appear to be Arab fanatics. However, one of the points this woman stressed was that they are really not Mohammedans. They are more interested in being playboys than in the Quran. Or they are more interested in being playboys than in the Quran. I mean, these people drank and were very secular. They were not the fanatical Mohammedan zealots that the Bush criminals lead us to believe. I don't know about this information, but anyway, that's what they say, you know. They received regular payments from the United States government. They were recruited by the CIA, the FBI, and the counterintelligence. They were paid money and they were allowed to exchange information with the United States government agents about various activities, but that doesn't make any sense. I don't know. Anyway, Alex Jones then said, "Let me." Okay. So this is from a thing in regards to the Alex Jones. Okay, just be aware of that. Alex Jones then said, "Let me stop you right there, Mr. Hilton. Everything you said was already backed up by mainstream reports. You've gotten it now in sworn testimony in dispositions under oath. But something that everybody wants to ignore is that 3 of the hijackers at least were trained at Pensacola Naval Air Station, not at a local airfield on the base by the government. Now we find that 8 of the hijackers under the names we were given are still alive in the Middle East and have been doing interviews on the television. You know their faces and their names. These are the same people. We also have Mohammed Atta being sent over to the Defense Language School at Monterey. The U.S. government worked together with the Mohammedans in many terrorist attacks. The U.S. government has to take it easy on them, as they are doing today. Otherwise, the Mohammedans will expose their collaboration with them and the Vatican on 9/11. I'm not entirely sure what they're going by in regards to this. Okay, he's saying he's agree with everything Hilton and Jones have stated in this interview. I don't know. I really do. I don't know. I don't know about this. But he says, I agree with everything Hilton and Jones have stated in this interview, with the exception of their statements later on in the interview in which they claim the Jews are the ones seeking world dominion. God said Rome is doing it, but not Israel. God said he will destroy Rome and will destroy and will fight for Israel. There are a few bad Jews, just like there are a few bad Americans and a few bad people in every nation. Well, in regards to there's Freemasons everywhere, for example. Freemasons seem to be, in every, pretty much every nation out there, and working their devilish deeds and all that. I really don't know how that's, this is. But anyway, and of course the Bible points to Rome and the Antichrist, so I wouldn't have a problem with that anyway. But I guess the problem is it's hard to find out who is speaking the truth and who is not, and what is lies and deceptions and what is empty air and all that. It can be very hard to figure out, Again, we were told to take care of in regards to wolves in sheep clothing and all that. So God said he will destroy Rome and will fight for Israel. There are a few bad Jews, just like there are a few bad Americans and a few bad people in every nation. God's chosen people are the Israelites. or the Israelis, God places all the blame for every abomination on earth on Rome. The Jewish people are being persecuted, prosecuted, and falsely blamed by wicked Rome and her puppets for just about everything. And I would agree that the Jesuits always blames the Jews, although they have their own Freemason stuff and all that in regards to B'nai Brit. It's called B'nai Brit, and that's their own Freemason bullshit and all that. So that's but in any case, Freemasons everywhere and all that. So Satan doesn't like Jews, both because they wrote the Bible and because Christ himself, God Almighty, is a Jew. So when you hear people attacking Jews, they are either the misguided people used by the devil in Rome, or it is the devil himself. One of my attorneys in New York, Ron Kuby, made a statement in 2 articles entitled Troubling Questions in Troubling Times and the World Trade Center, the Horror and Tragedy, the Bravery and Enigma regarding the 1993 attempt to destroy the World Trade Center. He said the mastermind of the 1993 World Trade Center bombing was the government of the United States. It was a phony government-engineered conspiracy. To begin with, it would never have amounted to anything had the government not planned it. The Pope, although his American puppet says there's going to be more terrorism in the United States and that it will be in the form of chemical warfare, these statements have frightened the American people to the point where they have agreed to wage war against those who are not really the bad guys, the terrorists. According to hundreds of well-informed true patriots in the government, the bad guys, the terrorists, the ones that also have chemical warfare, are the fictitious United States president and all those in his administration under Rome's control. Many presidents have stated they would never make a move without the Pope, and they have sworn to keep the Pope's commandments. The Vatican, the root. Okay, when Americans protest a little too angrily against the war, the Pope and his puppets in the United States will instigate many other 9/11s and Pearl Harbors in hopes of making everyone feel ashamed for demonstrating against Bush and the war. But remember who's causing the Pearl Harbors and the 9/11s. When the next Pearl Harbor or 9/11 happens here, remember the Alamo world pastor Tony Alamo. I told you so, and I've been telling you the same things for 38 years, now 45 years. When are you people in the United States and the rest of the world going to wise up to who's causing all these evil things to happen to you? There are millions of books that have been written about Rome and her popes. If you refuse to believe what the source is of all the world's problems, there will never be an end to them. If you fight only the Pope's puppets, you are merely pruning the branches of the most evil cult in the world, and this will only make Rome stronger until God destroys this wicked Satan-powered beast, called media once and for all. And yeah, the Bible do point to Rome, so I would agree with that absolutely. And the hall that rides, the hall that sits on all 7 heads, not rides them. It's interesting, in regards to, I get this, because Dave Hunt and others, that, she's, on the Seventh-day Adventist, that she's, sitting there on the beast or riding the beast or what do you call it, steering the beast and all that. No, I absolutely don't see it like that. The beast, she's sitting on the 7 heads, the 7 heads of the beast. And she's sitting on the authority of the beast. And the beast, of course, is the Antichrist, the Roman emperor. So, and in the future, she will be destroyed. And then the beast will, go on, he will go on, and the woman will be destroyed. So, anyway, I don't think she's sitting and it's the great city, but anyway, the Pope loves when you believe that his puppets are causing all the trouble. This makes the Pope, Rome, and the Vatican look like Snow White. You believe he doesn't want to control, and I think in regards to, maybe it was the term in regards of Snow White. I thought it was actually Keith Green that also used, maybe he's used another term. I just thought it was Maybe he used another term for it, but he used something of the same kind. But I thought it was actually him that actually said in regards of Snow White and all that. But no, he might have said something else in regards to the Catholic Chronicles. But anyway, he said something of the same nature, that's for sure. You believe he doesn't want to control the world just because he says in the media, I don't want war. But his plan to control the world includes to shock and appease, shock and appease, shock and appease, 9/11 and appease, 9/11 and appease, 9/11 and appease, until he has his way. The Pope's media says, look what the rackheads have done. His puppets are insane. They take the abuse that belongs to the Pope by doing what he says. The Pope tells Bush, don't worry about them mocking you, George. When Americans' hatred gets to the highest pitch against you, we'll make them feel like dogs and you will be a hero. When we start pelting America with more terrorist attacks, more 9/11s, don't worry about it, George. I'll make you a big man. I'll make the media exalt you. Just don't let anyone know that we've talked. We have to protect our Roman coven above everything else in the world. Remember, George, the United States people will not go to war until they really get ticked off. So the more belligerent they get, the more terrorists and the more 9/11s we'll give them until they agree to take over the countries we need in our one world system. There's some words there. That's a coven, a Roman coven. I wonder what is a coven, I guess. I've heard it before, but I'm not entirely sure in regards of a coven. Yeah, an assembly of witches. Oh, okay, I guess that. Okay. Above everything else in the world. Okay, so let's see. The country. Okay. So Roman puppets in the United States pretends they are defenders of the U.S. Constitution. But according to insiders, they are exactly the opposite. The propagandists have us believe that if we kill Iraqis, we will be free from. It's also interesting, right? We go. The Danish nation went to war as well, and apparently they. I can't remember if we were actually part of Afghanistan, but Iraq at least. I think we might have been in Afghanistan, but anyway, we took part in Iraq, and then we took part in is Yemen, I think it's called. In regards to we had 4 planes at least bombing away and all that. So, which is outrageous, but anyway. But then at the same time, where you're attacking the whatever enemy that you have pointed out, right? At the same time, you're attacking the enemy of what you have, said is the enemy in regards to Mohammedanism. You're now importing the same enemy into the nations. Isn't that kind of, what is it called? Schizophrenic, saying, oh, this is the enemy. Oh, well, let's attack them. And at the same time, while you're attacking them, you are allowing them to get into the nations at the same time. Does that make any sense at all? Absolutely not. Of course, it makes sense if you are Rome and you want to, trigger more problems and destroy. Anyway. Rome's puppet in the United States pretend they're defenders of the U.S. Constitution, but according to the insiders, they're exactly the opposite. The propagandists have us believing that if we kill Iraqis, we will be free from terrorists. But in reality, we will kill those who are not the terrorists, only the terrorists will remain. This is why God told me this is why God told me He's about to destroy the guilty parties. Okay, this is why God told me He's about to destroy the guilty parties, and this is why God is terrible to the kings of the earth. Okay, so apparently Alamo is saying that God told him. Okay, well, okay. Again, one have to test things, So, anyway, and terrible in his doing towards the children of men. It's obvious to millions of people that again, one thing I can't understand is again that that many of these ministries are promoting this heaven and hell doctrine. If you also look into the SDA, they're also pointing out in regards to who the Antichrist is, and yet they have a lot of things that are where it smells like Catholicism. Where it's like, this doesn't sound right, and anyway, it's obvious to millions of people that the things Ron Kuby said, as well as the other things mentioned in this literature, are positively truth. And as I understand, in regards of Alex Jones, if he doesn't really talk much, as far as I know, in regards of Romanism and in regards to the Roman Catholic bullshit institution, and there's a lot of things where in regards of worrisome in regards of the guy, and anyway, but God's word is true, and his promise, again, where would you put your agents if you were Satan? You would, of course, put them where people, get your agents out there to misdirect people in the wrong directions and try the best to misdirect people from the truth. And it's just where people might not know what, where they just, there's some say this, some say that. And I guess that's one of the reasons why it's just so important just to stick to the Bible, and at least from there on, you will at least be, hopefully able to discern more of. There's a lot of liars, there's a lot of deceivers out there, and we really have to take care. It's obvious to millions of people that the things Ron Kuby said, as well as the other things mentioned in this literature, are positively the truth. God's word is true, and his promises are true. All of yesterday's and today's troubles are emanating from Rome, the mother of harlots, the Vatican. Yeah, I would agree with that at least. Again, it's a little hard. Some of the information is a little hard where I'm like, I don't know. But in regards to the mother of harlots, in regards to being the Vatican, absolutely. In regards to Rome, the great city that rules over the kings of the earth, I would absolutely agree with that. Anyway, we know these people are part of the Roman cult and conspiracy to rule the world. Otherwise, they would not be so blatant in doing the things that they're obvious doing. We know that the great red dragon, the devil, empowers Rome with his wicked spirit, and has literally mesmerized the entire world with his many evil spirits. I pretty much agree with that. The great red dragon, of course, Satan. So that's pretty biblical, at least. Dragging we the people. Hermann Goering, the Nazi leader, next in rank to Hitler himself, said in the Nuremberg trials, "Well, of course the people of every nation don't want war, but after all, it is the leaders of the countries who plan wars, and it is always a simple matter to drag the people along, whether it is a democracy or a fascist dictatorship, or a parliament or a communist dictatorship. A voice or no voice, the people can always be brought to the bidding of the leaders. That is easy. All you have to do is tell them they are being attacked by some evil person or country, and they will do it. They will denounce the pacifists, those who oppose war, for lack of patriotism, and say they are exposing the country to danger." I guess that was, in regards to the Anabaptists, they were persecuted on those levels, I guess, because they didn't want to pick up the sword of the hand and go out and kill people. Again, this statement is recorded in the documents of the Nuremberg trials in Nuremberg, Germany. Oh, that would be, of course, interesting. But, you can find other quotes from Nazi leaders that's like in regards, the bigger the lie, the easier it is to make the people believe in it and so forward. And so forth. Anyway, Joseph PhD, that would be a, philosopher, doctor, doctor in philosophy, I guess. In his book, America Betrayed Bush, Bin Laden, 9/11, stated based on the wealth of facts detailed and documented in part 2 of this book, America Betrayed, We are charging high-ranking officials in the FBI, CIA, and Bush administration with treason and the mass murder of nearly 3,000 Americans on 9/11, 2001. Key FBI headquarters personally had to be spies or blind as moles who were actually working for the poop. Key FBI headquarter personnel continue to almost inexplicably throw up roadblocks and undermine Minneapolis' desperate efforts to stop terrorists who plan to take control of a plane and fly it into the World Trade Center. These statements were verified by an unnamed FBI supervisor and by Colleen M. Rowley, an FBI special agent and chief division counsel, as detailed in part 2 of this book, America Betrayed. The reason for the FBI, CIA, and Bush administration failed to connect the dots is because they are the dots. Okay. Yeah, then you see, CIA Catholics in action, So, anyway, that's apparently a book. 3 months before 9/11, in July the 3rd, 2001 issue of the supermarket tabloid Sun, it was reported that the Vatican predicted there would be a great wave of terrorism in the United States in the early fall. The Vatican has no prophets. They are simply political warmongers and terrorists. Of course, a little more than 2 months later, the World Trade Center was hit by 2 remote-controlled airplanes, which triggered several bombs. When you look at the other information from Alex Jones and all that, that seems to be somewhat conflicting, right? Because if they are remotely controlled, then that you wouldn't need people to fly them, right? In regards to terrorists. So anyway, of course, a little more than 2 months later, the World Trade Center was hit by 2 remote-controlled airplanes, which triggered several bombs in the buildings of different intervals, and the World Trade Center became ground zero. Nearly 3,000 American citizens were killed. But yeah, that would at least be one conflicting information in regards of, were the airplanes, controlled, or was someone actually flying them, right? But anyway, that's the thing. That's the problem, I guess, in regards of the, you have so much information out there, and the question, anyway. The Vatican is a political organization that don't know God, but they blaspheme him in every way. I, Tony Alamo, 2 months before 9/11, immediately began writing a message to the people of the United States. I also broadcast several messages on tape telling the people of the United States and the world that the Vatican and its political leaders were definitely going to start a terrorist campaign in the United States in the early fall of 2001. It's easy for the Vatican to predict terrorist attacks because they and those they control are the terrorists. With the threat of more terrorist attacks, the deceived American public ran to the heads of state rather than to God to find out what they could do to stop terrorism. The heads of the nation gave the Americans no hope. The high powers of spiritual wickedness in this world do not want people in the world to have hope. They lie to the people by saying that hope is found in them rather than in God. And of course, in regards of, that's one of the interviews in regards of where he talks about that the idea is that, that they will make a war against terrorism, and it will be a never-ending war, And of course, it still continues after 9/11, just and the explosion of the 3 buildings, 2 airplanes and 3 buildings. So, Dr. R. Joseph Book, America Betrayed, stated the new leader of the free world, who promised a new world order, did not win by democratic means. He was appointed after he failed to win the presidency with the majority of the votes. Also interesting, I was looking into in regards of getting into government in Denmark. And if you actually are getting agreed and elected and all that, they can, at the gate, tell you that you are not what do you call it, that you are not allowed to get in because they decide if you are allowed to get in, even if the people have elected you, even if the people have voted you and all that. They can, I don't know who, but apparently some can apparently decide that you are not applicable to be in the government. I thought the people was choosing that, but no. Apparently there's some, thing that they can look at you and see, no, this guy is not, they can apparently, oh, this guy's nuts or whatever, I will not allow him into the, again, that's just bullshit, if the people have voted someone in, anyway, it seems like there's control everywhere, So again, even if you use a lot of time, even if you get your whatever accepted and all that, and you get enough votes and all that, even if you get to that point, you might actually just be kicked out anyway. You might not even get in, So you might actually do a lot of work trying to get votes and this and that and whatever and all that, and you might not, they might just cut you off, They might not even allow you in, That's just even if the people have interesting, isn't it? Anyway, yet he did have the backing of banks. I can't remember how they and who decided it and all that, and I don't know if they actually had the information on it. But there's different pages on on these things. And of course, in regards to party names, they also need to accept the party name and all that. I guess that's one thing. But anyway, yet he did have the backing of banks, industrialist, and transnational corporation, including those controlled or directed by American leading families and the father of George Bush. As Dr. Joseph's book notes, in that same year he took office, the nation was struck by terrorists. One of the nation's most recognizable symbols burned and then crashed to the ground. Well, exploded, I would say. But anyway, Dr. Joseph's documents, this is a cunning and well-prepared plot. Terrorists were to blame, and by the way, there many people also have tried to blame the Jews for that, by the way. And if you go on the internet in regards to 9/11, you can still find, people saying that it was the Jews, that did it, It had to be. Anyway, Dr. Joseph documents, this is a cunning and well-prepared plot. Even if the Mossad or whatever had anything to do with it, even if that was the case, it still leads back to Rome, because it's Rome controlling everything, Anyway, this is in regards to the Jesuits. This is a cunning and well-prepared plot. Terrorists were to blame. The government announced foreign terrorists and their agents, yet what the people were not told was that the man ostensible in charge of the investigation deleted critical information and rewrote investigative police reports. He did so to protect and cover up Vatican government's involvement in this dastardly deed. Dr. Joseph, but again, that's the thing. One can go on and research, and then again, how do we hit Satan real hard? Well, by going back to the Bible, Because, of course, Satan is trying to, in regards of pagan festivals and all that. So if we just go back to the Bibles in regards to the biblical festivals, already there, it is exposing the Roman Catholic system that is not Christian, If some people would say, well, why are you keeping these festivals compared to these other festivals? Well, those other festivals are not biblical, So... and they might call themselves Christians, but they're not keeping the festivals found in the Bible, Anyway, he did so to protect and cover up Vatican government involvement in this dastardly deed. Dr. Joseph's book further alleges that the government and the nation's media were instead warned that the terrorists were running amok and that the nation was in danger. Freedom itself was under assault. The nation freedom must be protected from terrorism. The people were told. The leader who promised a new world order warned the nation that only his party could protect the people from terrorism. Only his party was concerned with national security. He, his minions, and the media, which supported him, demanded that the people give them their votes. To give his party a ruling majority and derided the patriotism of those who opposed him. Officials of opposing parties were threatened. Laws were hastily passed, supported even by those who opposed his law or his rule. The constitution itself was modified in order, the propagandist said, to protect the citizens, to protect freedom, and to protect the nation. The people were told. The laws are too liberal, the leader complained. Those associated with the terrorists were rounded up and jailed without charge, and their property, their homes, and their charities were seized by the state. Citizens, children, government officials, working men and women were encouraged to spy on their friends, neighbors, and co-workers and to report anyone and anything that might be suspicious. And those deemed suspicious were rounded up without charge, jailed, and denied legal counsel, and most were never seen or heard from again. And then the leader demanded that civil service laws be altered to give him power to hire only those of his choosing and to fire those who displeased him. The leader required this power to protect the people from the terrorists who were threatening the nation. It was said by the true terrorists, those responsible for the terrorist attack. Yeah, I was thinking in regards to Germany here. I was like, what is going on? This sounds like Germany and all that. So yeah, in regards of, fixing up, people in trains and sending them to places and then killing them off. Now, of course, not only Jews, but also those that was against, what is it called? Inquisition, Inquisition. The German Inquisition, and of course on many nations. Going back to Rome, anyway. And then the leader demanded that civil service laws be altered to give him power to hire only those of his choosing and to fire those who displeased him. The leader required this power to protect the people from the terrorists who were threatening the nation. It was said by the true terrorists, those responsible for the terrorist attack, the destruction of the Reichstag, the German parliament building, were government agents controlled by the most powerful men in government. As Hermann Göring later boasted, who burned the Reichstag, the German parliament building? I burned it, bragged Göring. Dr. Joseph Buck says, as the German people later learned, but as many suspected even then, it was Hitler, Göring, and the Nazi Party who instructed the Nazis to set fire to the Reichstag. Yeah, well, the Reichstag was in 1933, by the way. The Reichstag fire took place before World War II on the night of February, 27, 1933. The Nazi, and one of the reasons why I remember the date in regards to, the numbering thing, and that's 33, Anyway, the Nazis started the fire, blamed it on the communists and the Jews, and used this incident to enact a decree to go to war for the protection of the people of Germany and the state. A decree which did away with the constitutional protections on February 28, 1933, the day after the fire, Hitler's dictatorship began. This is the exact same thing that happened here in the United States the day after 9/11. We have, Terror Law 1 and Terror Law 2, and I think there's one more, I can't remember what it's called, where the freedom of the people, even in Denmark, is taking away from them, Isn't it interesting that because the US have it, and then we are going to have it? And of course, we got this internet terror attacks as well on the internet. Got to be kidding me. So this is the exact same thing that happened here in the United States the day after 9/11. This is when, what do we have to do with the US in regards of their laws, Oh, apparently we need to take them as well. Anyway, this is when the Pope and his puppets took over control of the world, or so they thought. But not all of us cattle are ignorant as to what they're doing. Back then, he blamed the commies and the Jews. Today, it's bin Laden, who is said to have been dead for years of kidney failure, or the Arabic nations, or the Iraq Saddam Hussein. Lies and propaganda, isn't it wonderful? And of course, that was, in regards of, mass destruction, what was it called? Weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, right? Did they find anyone? No. But no. They pushed it, They, here in Denmark as well, you could just hear the drums, war. And that was the point where I gave my TV away because I was done with that bullshit. So they went to war, and of course we know it was bullshit, and it was bullshit. But I'll just kill off a good amount of people and give me a break, based on lies and propaganda. And again, people knew it was, at least some people knew it was utterly bullshit. But of course, most people don't really, so. So today it's bin Laden, who is said to have been dead for years of kidney failure, or the Arabic nations, or Iraq Saddam Hussein. Lies and propaganda, isn't it wonderful? Says Air Poop and his Nazi party of world leaders. As the Biographic Channel stated March the 5th, 2003, in its 2-hour special on the Vatican, the heads of the nations say, yes sir, bow down and kiss the Pope's feet. Yep. Well, yeah. Are Hitler and Goering still alive? The answer is no. Is the Nazi party still alive? Yes. Joseph states that Bush had several Nazi war criminals as his advisors. We also have their sons and their daughters. Dr. Joseph continued, saying these are the same men who used terrorism and the threat of terrorism to consolidate their power. The Vatican and its puppets are once again blaming someone else, the Arabic nations, for 9/11. According to many, the planes were remote controlled by someone in the United States. According to many reports, all the passengers were herded onto the airplane that was shot down over Pennsylvania. Experts have said if the plane had crashed, the debris would not have been scattered over an 8-mile radius. Anyway, there's a lot of things going on in regards to these things, but but it's interesting because he actually talks about, he agrees with everything that they say in regards to the Alex Jones show, and yet there seems to be some inconsistency in regards of if the here we have another story. Anyway, it is reported by many that all key federal agents either didn't go to work or left the building quickly before the blast in Oklahoma City and the World Trade Center. We know the Vatican was involved because God said she is the mother of abominations of the earth. Revelation 7:5, apparently mother of ... abominations of the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. Anyway, we're told that we're dealing with the continuation of the Nazi party, whose members are many government agents in our country today. According to not only Joseph, but thousands of others, our armed forces are being sent in the wrong direction to be gun fodder. And our armed forces are being used to wage urban warfare against American citizens, just as they were at Waco. They are being trained for this because the Vatican knows that the citizens of the world are getting hip to them. So they are planning what they call urban warfare. Americans killing Americans and so on throughout the world. They exalt their precision, weaponry, and the skill of their soldiers. They exalt their speeches against God and his people, just as Sennacherib's spokesman did in chapters 36 of Isaiah. I guess it's more in regards to Americans. I guess more would probably be more Roman Catholics against Protestants, if, Anyway, Dr. Joseph's books also stated that, like the Nazis who, following the terrorist attack on the Reichstag, passed or issued numerous edicts, these were public notices issued by official federal or state authorities designed to destroy constitutionally guaranteed civil rights. The Bush administration issued, think about World War II, did the Vatican get what they wanted? Did they get a Roman European Union? Yeah, they did. Anyway, they didn't, they got the Roman European Union. So the Danish prime minister, in the past went to Rome to get a blessing from the Antichrist and celebrate in regards to the Roman treaty in regards to the European Union. Oh my, it's all things going to Rome. Anyway, so should we have been part in the Roman European Union? Well, no. No, I think we should get out of it. But anyway, designed to destroy constitutional guaranteed civil rights, the Bush administration issued its own edicts after 9/11. Hitler used the threat of terrorism as a campaign theme and to consolidate his power to gain control of the German parliament. George Bush and his team have followed the same plan. What this book is basically saying is that the Bush administration has patterned itself exactly after Hitler, Goering, and the Nazi Party. But of course, those, these laws that came into effect afterwards, right? The Terror Law 1, the Terror Law 2, and there was one more. There's probably others, I haven't really followed along, but it's all bullshit. It's just worldly bullshit and going for the New World Order, so-called New World Order. Anyway, the poop doom, as I call it. The big, great poop doom. Anyway, Joseph said the Nazi link to the Bush family was first alleged in 1934 by the U.S. Congress, which believed the Hamburg America Line and Union Bank, directed by Prescott Bush, were subsidizing the Nazi movement in Germany and in the United States. Corporations associated or directed by Bush and his cronies had been working with and financing the Nazis and their supporters since 1924. Robert Lederman, in January 18, 2001, issue of the Philadelphia CityPaper.net, in an article entitled "The Bush Gang," stated the Bush family were crucial players in setting up the industrial power behind Hitler's Third Reich for the Vatican. Oh, there we go, let's see here. Robert Lederman, in the January 18, 2001, and of course January is in regard to the pagan god Janus, but anyway, issue of the Philadelphia CityPaper.net, in an article entitled "The Bush Gang," stated the Bush family were crucial players in setting up the industrial power behind Hitler's Third Reich for the Vatican. In 1942, the Bush family was still in business with the Nazis, despite the declaration of war by Hitler against the United States. The consequence was that 3 Bush companies were seized by the U.S. government for being in violation of the Trading with the Enemies Act. As we shall discover, doing business with those who kill Americans is a Bush business tradition. In October of 1942, the government of the United States tried to put the Bush family out of business. U.S. government Western Order Number 248, issued in 1942, resulted in the seizure of the Union Bank assets as they were being used to support the Nazi war effort and was serving as a Nazi front. 2 other Western orders were issued that year, and 2 more Nazi front companies directed by the Bush Bank and his associates were seized. Holland American Trading Corporation and Seamless Steel Equipment Corporation. Prescott Bush was forced to divest himself, at least overtly, of his Nazi associations. Following the end of the war, Bush negotiated with his friends in government, trading his Nazi assets with Nazi contacts for political favors, including support when he sought political office with the helpful Vatican assistance of Bush and his cronies, including in particular Allen Dulles. Nazis were recruited and became high-ranking members of the Vatican American Intelligence Organization that would later be renamed the CIA, Catholics in Action, an organization that George H.W. Bush would soon lead, as detailed by Christopher Simpson, BBC News and UPI. Nazis were recruited, brought to the United States, and then subsidized by Bush CIA to build a power base for the Republican right wing after World War II. Several Nazis became top Bush campaign aides and advisors. This is why our government has given our industry over to Germany, Japan, Taiwan, and other countries. Our nation is weakened, our people are without jobs, and some of our people are even homeless because of these monsters. Why are we letting them do this to us? Why are we not praying to God to take vengeance on such evil? What will we do and what will they do if God doesn't stop them? If you are born of water and the Spirit, God will hear you and answer you. He will either save these people's souls or he will kill them as they have killed others. Like father, like son. George H.W. Bush, when he sought the presidency in 1988, was forced, like his father, Senator Prescott Bush, to divest himself of his Nazi associations. The Bush-Nazi connection was exposed by the Washington-based weekly newspaper, Jewish Week, and George Bush was forced to fire a number of the Nazi and neo-Nazi advisors. Of course, after the election, 4 of these neo-Nazis were brought back into the fold and were offered high-paying positions in the Republican Party. San Francisco attorney Stanley Hilton stated that Bush conspired to create the September 11 attacks for his own political gain and has been using deceased Osama bin Laden as a scapegoat. Bush spokesman Ari Fletcher stated, "We expect to get votes in the fall because of the war on terrorism." Joseph Book, along with many others, said that Hitler and Goering stated this was the best way to get votes and get the people of the country behind him. Could Bush Nazi advisors have told him the same thing? Did they have anything to do with the 9/11, the World Trade Center, and the almost 3,000 deaths? This is what Dr. Joseph, Mr. Milton, and many others have bluntly stated. Of course, not only 3 million deaths, you have millions in regards of the Middle East. Anyway, Dr. Joseph continues the Bush theme. I remember having, I had it on my webpage, if I remember correctly, in regards of how many actually was killed in Iraq or something like that. But anyway, and was counting upward and upward and upward, Anyway, Dr. Joseph continues. The Bush team also ushered in the Operation TIPS, or TIPS program, which encourages tens of, wow, it's really, really long compared to what I have thought. Wow, it just continues and continues and continues. I didn't think it would be so long, I thought it was actually pretty small. I don't know, maybe I should take a break for the moment. I really didn't think it was so long. Yeah. But again, the Bible, if we just go back to the Bible, that's the biggest damage for Satan and all that. But yeah, okay, here we go for it, like father and son and all that. Tips program. Yeah, I need a break, I think. It was a lot longer. It was much more than I thought in regards of reading. I didn't think it would be so long, but it just seems to continue and continue and continue. Yeah. So. Oh well, it will on battery anyway. So may Jehovah be with you, and Yeshua be a most precious pearl, and the Spirit of truth be in us all. Amen. And have a good one. I need a break now. I don't know. I didn't think it was so long. But you can go in and read the rest if you want. It's content English. Let's see here, and then of course, maybe that's from Facebook. I don't know. Yeah, that's Facebook. Typical Facebook bullshit. And this is one of the reasons, again, why I'm really at a point where I'm really, really, really done with Facebook here. This is every single link from Facebook. They put this bullshit in it, and they're destroying the link. And not only are they putting this in the link, the problem is it also breaks things. And this is on, what do you call it? This is, I don't want to be part of this bullshit anymore. I don't want to be part of the Facebook bullshit anymore. I really don't want to be part of it. I'm so tired of it. I'm tired of YouTube. I'm tired of many of the big other big platforms and all that. And really, a lot of the truth to be found in the past was on torrent clients. Now, I don't know what is, I don't have that much experience with these things anymore. But, that was one of the places where you could actually find a lot of truth, because all the banned and censored material you could find on torrent clients. Now, of course, you can find many things on these places that was this and that and all that, and but that was also in regards of truth videos and documentaries and all that. And I don't know if there's people out there keeping things alive. There seems to be people out there keeping things alive. But again, when I became a Christian, I lost a lot of the contacts in regards of the, and of course then they began to use this Jesuit mask in regards of Guy Fawkes, and truth doesn't hide behind the mask, so of course there's a lot of other problems in regards to that, in regards of blowing up the English Parliament, the English Protestant Parliament, in regards of the cartoon or the movie, in regards of going back to the Satanist, there's a lot of things, but anyway. But again, truth doesn't hide behind a mask, So, in any case, have a good one, all of you. I guess I'm done.